Good morning, everybody. Glad to see you. So I want to welcome you to our training on special education frequently asked questions 3.0. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. This training will cover some of the most commonly asked questions parents ask about the high school years and transition. As part of our fact series, we also offer Special Education Fact 1.0 that covered identification, referral, and evaluation, part of special education, and Special Education Frequently Asked Questions 2.0 covered IEPs. To ensure this training is helpful and relevant to you, we'll be doing some interactive activities, and I'll hope you'll complete our evaluation at the end. The evaluation results help us continuously improve our training. It's going to take you less than 2 minutes to complete the evaluation, and everyone that's completing it can receive a copy of the PowerPoint or a certificate of attendance. If you lose audio or video, it's my experience if you wait a few minutes, the Zoom is going to link back up, but you can always go back to the registration email and either link back into the webinar or even use the phone number to join the webinar. Um, I'm encouraging y'all to submit questions in the chat box. You don't have to wait till the end, but we do have a question and answer at the end of the training. So I'm Melinda Elliott, and I'm the presenter for your training, Frequently Asked Questions 3.0. I'm here with my co-presenter, my co-worker, my friend, Wallace Johnson. He's making all of these technical things work behind the scenes. Families Helping Families of Southwest Louisiana is one of 10 nonprofit family resource centers in the Families Helping Families network of centers. We're here to provide support to parents, children, youth, and adults with disabilities or special health care needs. We do this through individual assistance, information sharing, outreach, and training. This training was created with funding from the United States Department of Education to the Louisiana Parent Training and Information Center, which is a program of Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans. It was done in collaboration with the Louisiana Department of Education to use by the statewide network of Families Helping Family Centers. Families Helping Families of Southwest Louisiana provides webinars and in-person trainings on special education and disability-related topics. We invite you to check out our website and our Facebook page for our events at www.FHFSWLA.org. Check it out regularly and register for any upcoming training that you might be interested in. You can also request specific trainings that currently aren't being offered. If you're interested in a topic, there's probably other people are interested too. There's a fill in the blank question type space on your survey. You can put something in there. You can send us an email if you have an idea or an interest. You can call us, any of those things. So one of the other things that I do other than being an education specialist at Families Helping Families is I'm the regional LeCan team leader. LeCan is a statewide grassroots organization. We link lawmakers, people with disabilities, and family members to make positive change in the system serving people with disabilities. LeCan stands for the Louisiana Council's Advocacy Network. So we're the advocacy arm for the Louisiana Developmental Disability Council. We help advocate for policies and systems that support inclusion everywhere people learn, work, live, play. We help advocate for systems that support children and adults with disabilities to live in their own homes and be fully included and participating members of the local schools and communities. There's 9 of us. We're right Region 5, right smack dab in the middle. Region 1, or the first person, covers Region 1 and 10. So her regions are right next to each other. And so even though there's actually 10 regions, there's 9 of us. So we want to connect you with a regional team of advocates, provide information on proposed. We provide advocacy skills. We provide training for systems change. And of course, it's saying that my connection is weak. Hopefully, y'all can still hear me. Wallace has probably already dropped the link to join LaCan Advocates. You are agreeing to get emails, and maybe you'll be able to make some calls or emails of yourself. Right now, we're in the midst or almost at the end of our community input gathering phase. Wallace put the link to the community input survey in the chat. You can go there. It's going to be closed tomorrow morning, but you can go there and you can put in your input about things that you need to be adjusted or fixed or that need to be fairer in the state. It needs to be something that's a statewide problem, and not something that's already covered by federal or a state law. But you really don't have to think about those things. Just tell me what you notice about the system that isn't working. That information goes to the Developmental Disabilities Legislative Committee, who comes up with the legislative agenda. That agenda, 2 or 3 items, goes to the full council, and they ultimately make the decision about the agenda. And then there's things that come up during the legislative session or during the year with Bessie. We have roundtables. We will start working on those soon, where a group of us and the legislators all have a meeting together about the legislative agenda, and they get to hear people talk about it. And I'll help you craft your story, an impactful story. We also have individual visits with legislators. They like talking to their constituents. They've talked to me too many times. They want to talk to their constituents. We have yellow shirt days where we go to Baton Rouge in our yellow shirts. We recently changed our logo and the colors a little bit. And so we have new shirts. And some people are going to testify there, a very few people, because we don't want to take up huge amounts of time in front of a committee. But you'll be invited if you're one of those people, or possibly be a backup if you want to be. But seeing that sea of yellow shirts is awesome. Anyway, if y'all have questions, y'all hit the chat. So I want to make sure you're still hearing me. So I want you to put in the chat to name something purple. So my favorite thing is the purple people eater, but there's lots of other things that are purple. I like the color purple. So y'all give me some ideas. Wallace, will you call them out?
Okay, we have grapes. Somebody says you stole my answer. Somebody says the LSU Tigers.
Oh yeah,
And for me, I like the grapes popsicle.
popsicles. Yeah,
That's all I see at the moment.
those are all good answers.
Mhm.
Great, thank you. So let's go over our learning objectives. I want to provide you with the meaning of frequently used acronyms related to the transition process. I also want to increase your knowledge about post-school transition processes. And I should say we want to introduce you to some of the adult service agencies and what they do. And we want to provide you with some great resources and handouts to use in the transition process. Let's talk about those frequently used acronyms. So throughout the presentation, you're going to hear things like IEP, Individualized Education Program, FAPE, the Free Appropriate Public Education, Voc Rehab, which in Louisiana could be Louisiana Rehabilitative Services, LRS, but it's Vocational Rehabilitation Services. SIL, that's the Center for Independent Living. Here in Southwest Louisiana, they call it SLIC, Southwest Louisiana Independent Center. And CAP. CAP is the Client Assistance Program. It is a program at a law firm for people with disabilities called Disability Rights Louisiana. You're also going to hear us talk about age of majority, transfer of rights, Jumpstart, the April Dunn Act, and Leap Connect. So what is a transition plan? A transition plan is a statement of transition needs based upon a student's transition assessment and future goals. It must be then written into his or her IEP. IDEA mandates the annual IEP meeting focus on more specific planning and goal setting for the necessary transition services. Factors to be included are academic preparation, community experience, development of vocational and independent living objectives, and if applicable, functional vocational evaluation. If your child's teacher has been teaching a long time, she might refer to it as a transitional IEP or a transition IEP, and that's what it was called years ago. But be aware there's no such thing as a transition IEP, but the IEP has a transition plan or a transition page. At what age does a transition plan need to be in place? IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, requires that the first IEP that will be in effect when the student turns 16 years of age must contain a transition plan. The IEP team may begin discussing transition services with the student before he or she turns 16, which is ideal, but and they can start transition planning at an earlier age. What if my child has no future goals? A lot of times students with disabilities don't have future goals because they haven't been given permission to dream like their non-disabled peers. Every person deserves a chance to have a job they love and live as independently as possible. It's your job as the parent to encourage your child to dream of their future and help them identify things they may like to do. All students need to begin thinking about what they want to do as an adult before that first transition planning meeting takes place. That's their chance to take an active role in planning their education and make school relevant to their future. This is the time for the student to propose dreams and set goals for reaching them. It's an avenue to prove that he or she can accomplish what he or she can accomplish, identify things they enjoy and feels confident doing, and set themselves on a path of their own choosing. At the same time, they're going to need to be realistic about how they'll need to accommodate for their learning difficulties while pursuing their dreams. Transition plans should emphasize a student's ability rather than his areas of difficulty. Some steps high school students can take to prepare for the transition planning process include using their school's career center to identify their interest and find out what education and training are required. Completing interest inventories to identify their interests, skills, abilities, and aptitudes as they relate to employment. They can do volunteer work or entry level jobs in their field of interest. They can observe and interview adults who perform the type of work that interests them. They could visit training institutes and colleges to learn about entrance requirements that will help your teenager choose the necessary classes in high school as well. We recognize that students with more severe disabilities may have less opportunities, but we should always presume competence and give them the dignity of risk. Just like students without disabilities, students with disabilities often change their career paths and post high school dreams. That doesn't mean they failed, it simply means they've adjusted their goals to align with their abilities.
And there's a question in the chat box that says, does
Cool.
this include 504 plans as well?
So it can include 504 plans, but there's not a separate process the way there is for students that have IEPs. So, yes, you can include some information on a 504 plan about goals, um, particularly since some of the things that we're going to talk about shortly are things that are open to regular ed and special ed students. But to say that they have an identified page quite the same way as an IEP, no. Does that answer your question? Are there any other questions, Wallace?
I don't see any yet, other than
Oh,
that one.
okay. Well, y'all let me know.
Okay, she
So,
replied back to that one we just had, said
yeah,
somewhat answers her question.
okay. So let's all share some knowledge. And if you want to refine your question, go ahead and put it in the chat. Let's all share some knowledge. The question is, are there things you have done or can think of to help your youth discover interest for future goals? Write them in the chat box.
Okay, I see one that says volunteer.
Good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I think also too, like you said earlier, touring or visiting places, um, where they may go, like colleges or institutes or a vocational rehabilitation place or places, where they can get job skills training, different things like that. Um, and then there's having intentional conversations about careers and planning and transition planning. Yeah, that's good too. Someone said that in the chat.
And I think hobbies are a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Trying out different hobbies um, that lead you to things that sometimes you didn't know that you could do or you didn't know you would enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you could also interview people uh, that are in that career already and
Right.
ask them what's it like to do what you do as a job or a career.
Right. Right. Well, those are all great answers. So let's go on to some more facts. How long can my child stay in school? The school district is required to offer FAPE, the free appropriate public education, to those students with disabilities through their 21st birthday, unless the student has received a state diploma. Louisiana Bulletin 1706, the regulations for implementation of the Children with Exceptionalities Act states, a student with a disability shall remain eligible for services until reaching the age 22 unless the student has graduated from high school with a regular high school diploma. A student with a disability whose 22nd birthday occurs during the course of the regular school year, as defined by the local education agency, may be allowed to remain in school for the remainder of the school year. So, let's talk about a resource. The National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, INTACT, and the Center for Parent Information and Resources, the they call it CPIR, created a 15-page resource designed to help youth with disabilities take steps to transition from high school to adult life. So we're going to look at the resource a little bit. The guide asks questions like, are you worried about where to get food and where to live? Or are you worried about money? Or do you need help making doctor's appointments or getting your medicine? And are you worried about how you will get from place to place? The document also has lots of resources and links to more resources. It's set up like a workbook with lots of questions and places to write answers. Let's talk about what is Jumpstart. Jumpstart is Louisiana's innovative career and technical education program, CTE program. Jumpstart prepares students to lead productive adult lives, capable of continuing their education after high school while earning certification in high-wage career sectors. Students are required to attain an industry promulgated don't want to come out today, valued credentials in order to graduate with a career diploma. Jumpstart's an elective path for students pursuing an university preparatory diploma. This is one of those things that's for regular ed students and special ed students. So the lady that asked me about the 504 plan, this is a possibility for them too.
And then there's a question in the chat box.
Sure.
I have a child with autism that has a 504 plan. She is in the 11th grade and would be 16 on Sunday. So,
Ooh.
would she be able to have a transition plan?
So not in the same way a student with an IEP has, because of the law around special education, but they should and probably have been working on careers and what to do after high school, because they're supposed to do that with all students. Your contact should be the high school counselor to find out about their career center and to find out about whether she's taken any of those kind of assessments. Then you can go back to the 504 plan and ask for it to be included in parts, because she may well need her accommodations from the 504 plan for the stuff that she's doing around careers, but it's not lined out the same way that it is in an IEP. Does that help? And I know she has autism, but not everybody has severe enough autism to need an IEP. So then it's just like her classwork. You're figuring out how to accommodate what she needs with that 504 plan and the regular classes or activities that are going on.
And she says your input helped her answer the question. And she said, yes, it was
Great,
helpful.
great. So I don't think I've answered this or talked about this yet. Is Jumpstart for students with IEPs? There are several Jumpstart pathways. Students with IEPs can participate in any of them. However, if a student with a disability that persistently impacts their ability to progress within the general education curriculum per the April Dunn Act becomes eligible when they meet specific criteria. So what does the age of majority mean? The age of majority is when all education rights provided to the parents transfer to the student when they reach 18 years of age. At 18 years of age, it automatically happens. Unless you've done something to be able to maintain your assistance with your child, at 18, she signs on the line or he signs on the line. What does the transfer of rights have to do with your child's IEP? Beginning at least 1 year before the student reaches the age of majority under state law, the student's IEP must include a statement that the student has been informed of his or her rights, if any, under Part B of the Act, that will transfer to that student on reaching the age of majority. In addition, parents must be notified that all rights will transfer to their youth. That means once your child turns 18, all of their legal rights will transfer to them for them to make the decisions. We have any questions, Wallace? Because sometimes that's a complicated thing, and parents tell me, nobody ever told me that. Well, okay,
No,
often.
I don't see any questions, but we are at participant sharing time.
Yep, that's my next part. So let's share some knowledge. The question is, think about the pros and cons in transferring of rights. What do you immediately think? You can write it in the chat box because I immediately think, oh no. Is anybody answering, Wallace?
I don't see anything yet. Oh, here we go. Now there's a few. I
Okay.
guess I just didn't wait long enough. So, someone saying this is a pro, independent contribution to society.
Yep.
And
I do agree.
then there's another one. They have a financial aspect. So that doesn't say a pro
Yeah,
or a
that's
con.
yeah, that's something that you have to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that could go either way.
Right. Pro or con.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any more ideas or anything they want to put in there about transferring the rights?
Okay. So let's go back to another fact. What are the graduation options for students with disabilities? While most students with disabilities in Louisiana will pursue a traditional pathway to a high school diploma, certain students with disabilities who have an IEP have alternative pathways to a diploma available to them. Students at the high school level who are eligible under the April Dunn Act can pursue a standard high school diploma by meeting standard graduation requirements through alternate means. And students at high school level who are assessed on LEAP Connect can pursue a diploma pathway by meeting alternate requirements. Resources are available which can assist both educators and families in planning and implementing a successful high school experience for students with disabilities who have individual education programs or IEPs. Wallace, it is you. I'm
Uh,
transferring things to you.
okay. Thank you, Melinda. So now we're going to take a look at where you can find information on graduation, information about graduation. This is what you see on the screen is like a screenshot of the Louisiana Department of Education homepage. You can get there by going to DOE dot, and then you spell out Louisiana all the way out, .gov. And this is the Louisiana State Department of Education homepage. And then where the blue arrow is showing, it's pointing to like it near the top middle of the page or at the top. It's pointing to families and students. When you click there, it'll take you to the families and students page. And so we'll go there now. So this is kind of what you see on there. Now I kind of made my screen a little smaller so more of the page could show than what you normally see. But this is a screenshot of the families and students web page. And what you want to do is you want to scroll down on the page, or if you already see it on your screen, you want to click where the blue arrow is showing, where it says point preparing to graduate. And then it'll bring up the page where we're going to find graduation information and graduation requirements. So on the preparing to graduate web page, you see where those two blue arrows are. You're going to click where the two blue arrows are that are pointing for graduation requirements and also graduation pathways for students with disabilities. Now, on both of these pages, when you visit them, you're going to want to scroll down so you can see all the good resources that are available on the page. And you'll find resources like Louisiana High School Planning Guidebook, Credit Recovery, the April Dunn Act, and Jumpstart for students with disabilities and more. So this is a good resource for graduation information. And then now we back to our frequently asked questions. So who is invited to the transition meeting? So IDEA requires that in addition to the parents, the child, and school personnel, other agency representatives can participate in the transition planning process as needed. At age 16 or younger, if appropriate, the student must be invited along with any representatives of other agencies that is likely to be responsible for providing or paying for transition services. Outside agency representatives who could be invited to the IEP meeting with parental consent may include vocational rehabilitation counselor, a social worker, employment agency staff, independent living center staff, disability support staff from a post-secondary educational or technical school, a person knowledgeable about assistive technology, person knowledgeable about financial benefits such as supplemental Social Security income or SSI, and Medicaid or medical assistance personal care or health care providers, including mental health care providers, a probation officer or a teacher from a juvenile justice center, community park and recreation staff, or transportation agency staff. So families may invite an advocate from an advocacy organization to assist them as well with interpreting information and follow along. If an agency does not send a representative, the public agency shall take other steps to obtain participation of the agency. So the public school system has to take additional steps. So if a participating agency fails to provide a transition service that was agreed upon, the IEP team must reconvene to explore alternate ways of meeting those needs or revise the IEP. Each agency or service provider generally has a different set of criteria for eligibility and often a waiting list for services. Families can sometimes be overwhelmed with the amount of information or paperwork required for an application, and or the follow through. Part of the transition planning can address those issues and identify who families can call on for support and coordination. It can be very beneficial to the whole team if one person is identified as the single point of contact and the service coordinator for the family and other team members. So let's share some more knowledge. So the question here is, think about other people that could attend your child's IEP meeting, who they are, and how would your child benefit from them attending. You can either write in the chat box or I can unmute you and let you talk. So you have any ideas of other people you might want to invite to your child's IEP meeting? Okay. I know for me, if I wanted to have Louisiana rehabilitation, or if I knew that was going to be something in the future for them, you could certainly reach out to them and ask that their staff be available. Sometimes hearing from a parent, the Louisiana rehabilitation staff can sometimes it's easier for them to hear from a parent so they can better schedule or work their schedule, because we have so few of the staff from Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, and many of them are covering several groups of parishes, so it could still be hard. But just the idea of a parent requesting that they be there, them calling and them asking, then sometimes that may make a difference too. And someone says in the chat, a social worker could be there. Yes. We've covered some of those already. But yes, that's actually good. And it could be people in the community, maybe that we haven't mentioned. I don't know, like a youth pastor or somebody like that they're connected with might also be a good example also. Okay, so we'll move on to the frequently asked question. So here's the question. What is vocational rehabilitation, or what we sometimes call as VR, or voc rehab? So voc rehabilitation provides comprehensive rehabilitation services that go far beyond those found in routine job training programs. This frequently includes work evaluation, job readiness services, assessments for, and provision of assistive technology, such as customized computer interfaces for persons with physical or sensory disabilities, job counseling services, and medical and therapeutic services. Vocational rehabilitation services are provided through Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, which is commonly referred to, like we said, as LRS. So what is the Center for Independent Living? The term Center for Independent Living means a consumer-controlled, community-based, cross-disability, non-residential, private, nonprofit agency that is designed to operate within a local community by individuals with disabilities and provides an array of independent living services. At a minimum, 51% of the staff are persons with disabilities, and 51% of the board of directors are persons with significant disabilities. A CIL, or a Center for Independent Living, provides at a minimum the following core services. So they're going to provide information referral, independent living skills training, individual and systems advocacy, peer counseling, transition from nursing homes and other institutions to community-based residences, assisting individuals to avoid institutional placement, and transition of youth with significant disabilities after completion of secondary education to post-secondary life. Louisiana has 8 centers for independent living located throughout our state. New Horizons has centers located in Shreveport, Monroe, and Alexandria. And then Resources for Independent Living has centers located at Kenner and Baton Rouge. And then Southwest Louisiana Independent Center, SLIC, is it known here as, has centers located in Lake Charles and Leesville and Lafayette. So what is the CAP program? The CAP program is the Client Assisted Program. It's also called CAP. It helps individuals who are working or are applying for Louisiana Rehabilitation Services and American Indian Rehabilitation Services understand all their benefits and rights under the Rehab Act of 1963. So, will I lose benefits if I go to work? So, this is a good question. Social Security and other programs have many programs and rules. So, the goal is for people who can work to work, but they also understand sometimes people still need benefits due to employment equities for people with disabilities often that they face. Not unusual for individuals with the disabilities to still collect some of their benefits while they work. We highly recommend individuals with disabilities to work with their benefits planning service agencies. So here we're talking about the benefits planning service agency. And the benefits planning service agencies are able to go over your unique situation and give guidance that's specific for you. The Louisiana Benefits Planning Services has 2 Social Security Assistance Funded Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Grants. So one of those grants is located at the LSU Human Development Center, and the other is located at Lighthouse, Louisiana. And I'm going to have resources for these links sent to you with our stuff after our presentation. So you'll get links to where you can visit these. Because some of our parishes use the LSU Human Development Center, and then some of the parishes we cover use Lighthouse, Louisiana. So you can go to each one of those and find out which one covers your area. Is health care transition a part of school transition? So the answer is healthcare transition is the process. So yes, it's involved of moving from a child family centered model of healthcare to an adult patient centered model of healthcare, either with or without transition into a new condition. It also involves the planning, transfer, and integration into adult centered healthcare. So the goals of healthcare transition are to improve the ability of youth and young adults with and without special healthcare needs to manage their own health care and effectively use health services, to ensure an organized process in pediatric and adult health care practices to facilitate transition, preparation and transfer of care, and integration into adult-centered care. And so if this is kind of an issue to your son or daughter, you may want to have conversations with them to prepare them that their family doctor or whatever, their pediatrician that they've been seeing for years and years might change once they get, older, once they age out at 18, because then they'll have to transfer to an adult someone that sees adults for their health services. For me, my mom and dad didn't go over to that, so it was really a rough time because I had a bond with my doctor. And then when this came about, it was, had I would have had conversations, it's like, all right, you're fixing to move out of pediatric care into an adult, then I could have been better prepared and maybe handled that a little easier. So sometimes that might be a little rough for your son or daughter, but it's okay. It's just a part of growing up. So if your youth need assistance about learning that in healthcare, then you could include that as a part of your transition plan at school. And then there's also a great website that we're going to talk about some called Smooth Moves, YHT.org. This provides great resources to help you map out steps for healthcare transition. Can my child with an intellectual disability really go to college? And the answer is yes. Louisiana has several programs available at universities and community colleges around the state for students with intellectual disabilities, and this list is growing. So you could call your local family center to discuss what options are available for your student or your child. Okay, like I spoke about a little bit earlier about the Smooth Moves website, I want to show you some of the great resources available that's on this website. And so on this, you have where you can find a lot of information. And as I said before, the homepage website is smoothmovesYHT.org. And this website is or was created by Patty Barbicchio, a nurse with the Louisiana Bureau of Family Health. It was created with teens and youth in mind that are getting ready for transition into adulthood. So a lot of resources on this site are specific to healthcare transition, which is very important to many students with disabilities, and also those who have health concerns or special needs. However, there's some other great resources here too. And so this is the home page again. And one of the things that I like about this site is when you click there where it says YHT plan, it's going to give you clear information on how to navigate the site. There's going to be things in there, many of the things you might use and many of the things you might not use because it's so full of resources. So this is the homepage. So you just have to click there where the at the top where the gold arrow is pointing, and that's going to take you to the YHT, the Youth Healthcare Transition Plan. And then once you're on that page, you can find out information about how to plan for transition. And so it has resources with planning tools. So when I'm click again, you're going to see where the arrow is pointing on planning tools. That's where you're going to want to go, and you're going to want to click there, and it'll pop up with a lot of other things that you can use for transition planning. So we're going to look at it a little closer at some of them. So you're going to see a family toolkit. It provides health care from moving from pediatric to adult transition. You're going to see a career planning questionnaire. You're going to see young adults in transition plan, your future, your life. And then they also have videos and things that are real good too. And they have things in there included like workbooks, checklists, career planning tips, and more. So along with the videos from self-advocates or young adults advocating for their rights, it's a good resource. So now we're going to summarize what we learned today. Hope you learned things that'll help provide you with um, the acronyms or meaning about acronyms that are used in the transition process, like age of majority, transfer of rights, jumpstart, April Dunn Act, Leap Connect, and Louisiana Vocational Rehabilitation. And so we hope that we increased your knowledge about post-school transition process, that you learned about your child's needs and the transition plan, and how that has to be in place when he or she, before they turn age 16, and that this is the plan for him or her for their goals for their future. And we also discussed that a child can have a transition plan earlier than 16, and we discussed ways to help your child determine and identify future goals. And we helped you learn about graduation options and that your child can stay in school throughout the year they turn age 21. And then we discussed different adult agencies that could be invited to your transition meetings with permission, of course. And then we introduce you to some of those adult service agencies, what they do, and then we provided you with information on Louisiana community colleges and universities that offer developmental disability programs. And finally, we shared a lot of great resources and handouts for you to use in the transition process. So here's a list of the numerous websites we mentioned in today's webinar. Links of these resources are going to be provided to you after you complete your evaluation. So you'll have access to all of these websites where you can just click on them and go to it. In addition to the list of all the links we discussed today, you'll also get an electronic copy of those documents that you see on the screen about secondary transition considerations and guiding questions for you exiting from high school, a transition skill checklist, and information about the selective service, who must register handout. And then here's our contact information. So if you need additional support on your parental rights or any other education issue or something about transition, you can contact us at 1-800-894-6558 toll free. Or if you're in the Lake Charles area, you can call us locally at 337-436-2570. And you can also email us at info@FHFSWLA.org. We provide lots of great information on our social media channels. So you're going to want to please check us out on our social media and like us, share us, follow us, share our posts, retweet, and that sort of thing. Our website is also a great source of information, and you can find great resources there. And our website is www.fhfswla.org. And now we got an evaluation. The evaluation, like we said earlier, we would like everyone to complete this if possible. And we're going to put a link in the chat box in a few minutes. And this will also be emailed to you. So if you miss our survey or evaluation link, it'll be emailed to you. And like Melinda said, this information helps us to improve our training. And everyone that's registered will receive and completed the survey will receive the PowerPoint, a certificate of attendance, and any handouts we mentioned in this resource. So now we're going to open up to questions. And so if you have a question, you can either put it in the chat box or you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to talk. Or if you can't think of any questions, but you can email it to us or call us. You can email us at any time at info@FHFSWLA.org or call us at 1-800-894-6558 or locally at 337-436-2570. And I'm going to go get our link for the survey and put it in the chat box. It'll take me just a second to grab that. And here we go. All right, here, I'm posting it now. So the survey for our evaluation survey is in the chat box. And again, it'll also be emailed to you. And so let's see if there's any questions. I'm going to scroll back up just to make sure I haven't missed any. Good. And there's some more comments on a question we asked earlier. Who could, I guess, be invited to an IEP meeting? And they were saying advocates. Sure, yeah, advocate can definitely be invited for children, in the community for different purposes or different programs. Yes, they advocate can definitely be invited to an IEP meeting. Yeah, is there any other questions? We appreciate everyone attending our webinar today. Please don't forget to check out Families Help Families website, Facebook page for upcoming events and trainings. We want to make sure that you're aware of what we've got going on in the future, especially since we provide this all free of charge. So, okay, I'm looking for more questions. If anybody's got any questions, and I don't see anybody with any more questions. So, y'all enjoy your day. Thank you for attending. Have the great rest of your day, and please look for our follow-up email with all the resources that I promised to send you. Thank you a lot for attending.